Hello there and welcome. My name is Tyler Penor and I want to welcome you to the first video of this mini-series, Going Beyond the Horoscope. So to start off, I first want to thank you for joining me here on this mini-series where we're going to be going through the different layers of the astrological journey. So starting at the beginning here where, we don't really know anything about astrology, we just see, what it looks like from the outside, and we're going to move in through the different layers. And what I'm sharing with you too is actually my journey with astrology. So I started at a place where I didn't know anything about it, started dabbling in it and learning more and more and really gathering all the information on what astrology is, and then learning how to apply it in my life and learning how to work with it, and eventually ending up at a place now where I'm teaching astrology. So here in video 1, we're going to be talking about approaching astrology, not knowing anything. So the analogy I'm using is we're kind of approaching these gates of astrology. And what does it look like from the outside? And if we're choosing to, how do we penetrate and get beyond the gates of astrology into the realm and into the world of it and start to really learn the terrain and learn how to navigate our way through our own journey with astrology? So you may find that you yourself watching this video are on one of these stages. Maybe you have never learned anything about astrology. You only see what you see in the magazine or what you see with the horoscopes, or maybe you're at a phase where you're starting to read books and really getting to know your birth chart and learning all the different parts that come along with that. And maybe you actually are a practicing astrologer. Maybe you're already providing a service and you've been studying for years, and now you're teaching or you're just counseling people with your work with astrology. Maybe you're doing podcasts or something like that. Maybe you're, a practicing astrologer. So no matter what phase you're on, I think these teachings that I'm going to share with you can be relevant all along the way. Because at each stage of this journey, there's a challenge and there's also a responsibility in how to move forward. And truly, the journey of astrology never ends. It always continues. You're always going to learn more. So as we approach astrology from the outside looking in, the first thing that we notice, the first thing that we see is the forecasts, the daily forecasts and the predictions, the fortune-telling astrology, what we see in our pop astrology world. And at this stage, this is all we know of. This is what we think astrology is. And this is really the modern perception of astrology, that it's just for fortune telling. It just predicts your future. It tells you who you are. And this perception of what astrology is from the outside looking in isn't even close to what it actually is in truth. The true potential of astrology is so much more than what we are presented with. When we're just first looking at astrology, the idea that we have in our mind is so far from the true essence of it. And really, it's not the fault of any of us. It's just the way that we've taken and looked at astrology. Culturally, we like to be told what to do. We like to be told what things are. It's how we learn in school. We're told things. We're told to memorize things. And this is how we then approach astrology. But again, this is just a perception of the mind. And within that, we have the paradox of belief and doubt. And many of us never studying astrology are either hardcore believers, we just believe in it, we just follow it, we like to look at our horoscope. And on the other side of that are the hardcore doubters of astrology. And there's many different studies and scientific debates on, astrology being nothing more than a pseudoscience. And the interesting thing is that the arguments for both are true. The way that astrology is presented and the way that it's looked at in our modern day, the scientists are correct in saying that, they don't have influence on us, as in the stars don't control us, because they don't. there is a core pattern of how life moves, and we are connected to everything. But we do have that freedom, we do have the free will and the choice to live life how we want to. So is astrology necessary? You see, astrology to me is something that is just really helpful. Just as helpful as math, just as helpful as reading. They're good things to know how to do. They're not necessary to live life, but they sure are helpful. And astrology is the same way. So the questions that we hold are, what is astrology? And how does it actually work? And how is it useful? The viewpoint from the outside is that it just tells us our future and it tells us who we are. And we can get caught up in that I am this, I am a Libra, I'm a Aries, and it's really just like a 1 in 12 kind of thing, right? And there's obviously more than 12 people on this planet. So, of course, it's easy to discredit astrology with this viewpoint. And so this challenges many people, as we all are unique individuals and we're making choices in life. So what we're confronted with is this fate versus free will. And so at this stage of astrology, it's nothing more than a belief system. And the challenge is, do we believe in it or not? And so at this phase, the journey of astrology can also be applied to our journey in life. So the questions of who am I and what is my identity? It's the same with astrology. What is astrology really? And are we just going to listen to what other people tell us it is? Or are we going to investigate for ourselves? So these are the things to think of. If you're curious about astrology, how are you going to approach it? Are you just going to take it at face value? Or do you want to investigate further? And this is something that always comes up with me. It's like, if people follow astrology, why not take it a step further and actually learn how to utilize the tool in its proper way? Instead of just relying upon forecasts and the books to tell you things, why not investigate for yourself? Because astrology is a journey. It's a journey of discovery. It's a journey of self-discovery. And where the mind comes in and it's only this or that, believe or doubt in astrology, take it a step further. If you're curious, if there's something in your heart that's drawing you to investigate this world of astrology, then try and go all in. Don't just stay at those gates. Investigate for yourself, learn for yourself. There's a whole world behind those gates of astrology. There's so much more than fortunes, predictions, and sun sign. That's literally just the tiny bit of the surface layer of it. But there's a much deeper aspect to astrology that can apply to anything in life. So remember, astrology is a journey of the heart. And the more you travel down that road, the more that will be revealed. And your heart is truly your guide, but the mind will jump in and challenge you all along the way. Just like anything in life, the mind loves to jump in there and try and divide everything, and steer us off course. But if we follow the heart, it will guide us, and that's where everything gets unified through the heart. So in your study of astrology, approach it from that angle. So here at the gates of astrology, the mind comes in and says, do you believe in it or not? And again, that's the division, but take it a step further. Go beyond that. You don't have to know within your mind whether it's true or not before you investigate it. And so you have to decide for yourself if you're going to go on this journey. And if you are, just try and set that aside for now. Set that need to know aside and just follow, just investigate. You don't have to have the answer because it won't be given to you. And most of us will just turn away from astrology at this point and say, well, that's all it is, fortune telling, forecasts. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to go on with my life. But if your heart is pulling you in the direction of wanting to know more, maybe your curiosity has been sparked in you, just keep finding yourself turning to the daily horoscopes and wanting to know more. So if that is you and you keep finding yourself looking into astrology, I encourage you to go in further, to go beyond just these gates of astrology, to set aside all of those fortune-telling ideas and set aside the predictions and the daily horoscopes and start to investigate the actual tool of astrology. Try to actually understand how it works and where it actually has come from. So now you're at the gates of astrology and you're ready to enter, you're ready to go beyond, you're ready to set aside all of the prediction noise and the fortune telling, and you want to see it and understand it for yourself. So now the question arises, how do I study astrology? How do I get into these gates and begin to learn it for myself? So what unlocks the door and allows you to get beyond the gates is really the key that exists within your heart. The heart that is guiding and wanting to know more, that curiosity within you. And as you enter beyond the gates, what is pulling you further into the realm of astrology is the great mystery of it all. So now you're ready to enter into the gates of astrology, to move through that doorway and go investigate the inside of that world for yourself. And so what is the key thing that you need in order to get there? The world of astrology is so vast, there's so much to it. An analogy to understand it is, imagine you're going to a theme park and you're outside and you're looking at the gates of it and you see all the rides or whatever it is that you see there and you're curious what's on the inside. And so when you get to the gates, what's the first thing that they give you is a map. And you need that map to get to where you're trying to go inside of that theme park. And so it's the same with astrology. In order to go beyond those gates of astrology and enter into the world, you need a map to guide you. And that map is your birth chart. So the key to enter into the realm of astrology is yourself. And your birth chart is the map of you. And so this is what we're going to use. This is the tool and the key to open the door and get into the world of astrology. So now, as we enter into the gates of astrology, we're armed with our birth chart, and we now have the map to get around in this whole world of astrology. But now we look down at that map and we say, how do I read this? How do I understand this map? And so these are the questions now that we're going to answer in the second video, which is how to get started. What's the first step that I should take? How do I learn about this chart? And how do I learn how to navigate this world of astrology? So in our modern day, the way astrology is presented to us, the way it looks from the outside is just full of fortunes and predictions. And we're kind of flooded with those daily horoscopes. It's all that we see. When we think of astrology, we think of it in a certain way. So the way the gates of astrology look at this time are due to the people in the next stages and how they present the information and how they share and work with astrology. And so really it's the responsibility of today's astrologers to how it's going to get passed on and how the mass population of people look at astrology. And I run into this all the time as an astrologer. When people ask me what I do for a living and I say I'm an astrologer, there's kind of this certain tone, and I can see the perception of how people see what astrology is. And that really has sparked my goal to try and change the perception of what astrology is and how to change those gates of astrology. And really it's the responsibility of these different layers that we'll see as we navigate and move throughout this mini-series. So down below this video, there's a comment section, and I'm just curious who's watching, and maybe share where you're at on your own astrological journey, if you just started or if you've been studying for a long time, and let me know if you gained anything from this first video of this series here. And ask any questions, let's have a conversation, let's get to know one another. And if you know anybody who would enjoy this video or benefit from it, there's going to be a link below that'll allow them to sign up and register and get access to this video as well. So yeah, feel free to share that. And that's going to be it. So thank you again for joining me in this first video, and I hope to see you in video 2.